Cuando puedan mis noches hablarte y logren decirte lo que eres.
I'm talking with the wonderful mezzo soprano Cecilia Duarte, who is not just an opera singer, but also a classical singer. And as we're about to hear on her new album, which is entitled Reencuentros, in my best Spanish, right? Which means reunions. Her voice encompasses a wide range of music, and a lot of it is displayed on this disc. First of all, welcome, Cecilia. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm very happy to be sharing with you all about the album.
Yeah. Well, I've been listening, and there's such a variety, but it's all kind of tied together in the Latin American diaspora, so to speak, of music. I wonder if you could start by we're getting to know you a little bit better, telling us about yourself. I know some people don't like to talk about themselves, but in this case, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, so I am originally from the city of Chihuahua in Mexico. I grew up there, and all my family is still there. I grew up singing popular music and especially listening to my mom singing all the repertoire of beautiful Latin American songs. I was always surrounded by music. I come from a family of musicians, and there was always all kinds of music around. There was a lot of singing too. That's something we do, whether we do it professionally or not. Everybody in the family has to sing whenever we get together. So that was always a very important part of my life, my family life. Um, but just fast forward to today, I've been living in Houston, Texas for almost 19 years. That's been the longest I've lived in a city because I left my native Chihuahua when I was 18.
Mm.
So yeah, I consider myself a Houstonian now, and my heart is divided in two forever now. But most of the music I sing in my career right now is early music, which is music from the Renaissance period, the Baroque period. And then I get to do a lot of contemporary music. I work with a lot of living composers and premiere operas and chamber works as a classical vocalist. But within that spectrum, I always like to give emphasis and promotion to Latin American music. And this happened later on in my life because I realized this is the music I grew up with. This is the music I can also do well, and that not a lot of people know. And specifically, as you can hear in this album of Reencuentros, um, the songs are quite sophisticated. They're very beautiful,
Mm.
but they're not considered necessarily art songs. To me, they are art songs because they're really beautiful, although they're not accompanied by a piano. Um, but they fall in the cracks of, being popular music, belonging to the folk culture, but also bringing a lot of beauty and sophistication. So I think they can be appreciated by both audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed some Mercedes Sosa tracks on here. I wonder if you can talk about, aside from your mother, some of the inspiration for this disc for you.
Yes, definitely. I would mention Mercedes Sosa. Uh, I always loved singing, her performing style also. She knew how to tell stories and how to deliver a song with such powerful um, impact and intensity. I always admired her, and I knew that one of the songs that I wanted to add to this album was precisely Gracias a la Vida, which is the last track in the album, um, written by Violeta Parra, who was also a female composer and one of the most prolific female composers of Latin America. But I always thought, why do I want to do Gracias a la Vida if Mercedes Sosa already existed. If Mercedes Sosa already did a wonderful rendition, is the classic one that everybody knows. So that's when I knew that I had to do something different that could also speak to who I am as a singer and what I like doing. So yes, and another female big influence is Omar Portuondo, who is a Cuban vocalist, uh, still alive and producing a lot of music still. The track Le dije a una rosa, which is from Cuba, is the inspiration that I got because she did a beautiful recording of it. And I always loved her singing and her style.
Well, I do want to mention, going back to Gracias a la Vida, Thanks to Life, that's a remarkable arrangement, and you're singing with yourself, yeah? You're overdubbed there. So you're
Yes.
making up a huge, intricate choir that is every bit as good as anything, you know, that you would find in popular music, more popular music. Who made those wonderful arrangements? And talk a little bit about, because I also notice on your CD, like Alfonsina y el Mar, Alfonsina and the Sea, it's just you and the bass. It sort of magnifies what the original singer did with those songs. Was that the intention of the arrangement, to sort of take that ball and run with it?
Yes, yes. And you know, it's strange because these are the songs that always I get questions about because they're the ones that are, you know, out of the traditional way of presenting the songs. Yes, the arranger was a very good, uh, dear friend and colleague of many years, David Hanlon. He is an excellent composer. I have actually premiered one of his operas, but I have also worked with him through many, a wide array of projects where we had to do different music styles. And he knows my voice very well.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what I can do. He knows my background in early music, and what I do as a classical vocalist. So in the case of Gracias a la Vida, I wanted to do this. I only had to say I need an arrangement for four voices a cappella with percussion, and he just, you know, he presented it to me, and that was exactly what I was looking for because he's like, okay, I'm thinking early music, but I'm thinking all the things you can do,
Yeah.
and that's how it happened. He sent me the arrangement, and here from my house, I sent him the four tracks, you know, using my computer program, and I said, "Is this what you're going for?" You know, and, you know, all we had to do after that was tweak little things and
Yeah.
refine little details. He also made the arrangement of Le dije a una rosa and Alfonsina y el mar.
Okay.
And specifically for Alfonsina y el mar, what I wanted to do was to bring that darkness and solitude of what the lyrics are expressing. To me, that's a very sentimental and obscure journey. And my mom used to sing that a lot, and I remember like imagining all the words that she was singing as the song went through. And so I wanted to bring the text out by making it as bare as possible.
Yeah, the arrangements fit you like a glove, I should say. Can you talk a little bit more about that song Alfonsina y el Mar and who it's dedicated to? So we know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was this is it's based on a real event. Um, there was this poet that used to live in Argentina. She was European, but she lived in Argentina and worked there as a poet. Um, she died by suicide by throwing herself in the Mar de Plata in Argentina. The composer was a kid, or was I don't think he was still born. Felix Luna, and Ariel Ramirez wrote the music. Ariel Ramirez was the son of this literature professor, and he actually worked with Alfonsina. I can remember her last name right now. But when he heard the story of how she died by suicide, he was so impacted by it that decided to write a song
Mm.
about that.
Yeah. And with just your solo voice and the bass player, it's quite remarkably effective. Listening to these songs is really it's a treasure trove of exploration for somebody like me who is not familiar with this style of singing. I was for many years an opera singer, and I never sang anything in Spanish, I have to say. But is there a difference for you in how you approach, say, a traditional operatic role and how you approach this sort of song?
I think there is a bit of a difference. In terms of technique, I don't see that there's much difference. In these cases, of music that it's more popular, um, there's not the need of, we have amplification,
Mm,
right? Most of the time. With the classical training of singing, there's we have the facility of amplify our own voices naturally. And there's a lot of that when I approach these kind of songs, but knowing that I don't have the need because I have that amplification, um, then I have the permission of being a little bit more intimate and, bringing a more popular approach to the
yeah.
songs.
Yeah, totally. And working with a microphone, as I've seen, like in the video trailer for this album. I want to talk about your collaborators on this disc, a wonderful mariachi trio, whom you have appeared with at Houston Grand Opera, and who, as I understand it, you are reperforming this opera tomorrow, right? As we speak.
Yes, we have actually done 4 performances already.
Okay.
Today is our free day, and we have 5 more performances to go. So if anybody knows anybody that's in the Houston area, tell them to come see us. We are doing reprising the production of El Milagro del Recuerdo, or The Miracle of Remembering, um, which is an opera with mariachi music. This is the third in a series of mariachi operas that have been premiered through Houston Grand Opera. And this time, this specific opera, we premiered it in 2019. And we have a trio of mariachis, as you mentioned, on stage with us, and we have an orchestra in the pit, which brings a beautiful blend of both styles, the opera world and the mariachi world. And that's where I met these 3 guys who are magnificent. And as you can imagine, they are based in San Antonio. But as you can imagine, every time we had a break, we kept singing because that's what we do. We Latin Americans don't stop singing. And so we just kept checking with each other, do you know this song? Do you know this song? So one day we had a reunion here at my house, and my husband, who is a percussionist, joined us in the singing and in the playing. And we immediately thought, okay, we need to do something about this because this sounds very good. And so that's how it came to happen. Finally, sadly, it was during the pandemic, but the pandemic brought the opportunity because we had a lot of time in our hands, and I suddenly thought maybe this is the time when I can see if this can be done. And so I talked to them, uh, and my husband, who is a percussionist, Jesus Pacheco, and they were available, and they were very happy to do it, formally. Um, and so that's how things got started. And, the project kept growing and growing. And I consider this a very a Houstonian project because even the name of the album fits in that respect, because I am putting together my past and the music that brought me with a lot of the colleagues and relationships I have created all this time in Houston that were part of this production.
Well, it's obviously a deeply personal album, and that fits being your debut solo album. You're presenting a picture of yourself as a singer to a wider audience than maybe in the past. I'm wondering if you can talk about what that picture is, how you define yourself as an artist.
Ah,
I know that's a difficult question.
it is. I know what I am not defining myself as, and that is just as specifically an opera singer.
Mhm.
Uh, I think I call myself a classical vocalist. Uh, but my background singing so much popular music has allowed me to go beyond what that means. And that also includes, in the premiere of the new works I've done or new operas, a lot of them have influences in the popular music genres like jazz or blues, mariachi, and so I think that has given me that flexibility to be able to be a versatile performer
Yeah.
and give the composers also what they're looking for, all
Yeah.
those different colors and textures. So yeah, it's a difficult question because I like to present myself as a singer, but classical singer, I guess that would be the closest to it.
Yeah. Well, the recording is wonderful, and it almost tracks like a song cycle, listening to everything in order. And I love the song that you begin with, which is a waltz. It's a fun song, and it's a bit of an earworm. Fine Gentleman, or however you want to translate that. Is there anybody that you think of when you're singing that song? Because as I read, the author of the song was thinking of their grandfather, perhaps their elegant grandfather, that kind of thing.
Yes, Fina Estampa was also another one of my mother's big hits. But yeah, it was written by a Peruvian composer, female composer, Chabuca Granda. She was also the composer of track number 5, if I'm correct, is La Flor de la Canela, which
Mm,
is another waltz. You're right, it's a
right.
Peruvian waltz. And yeah, Chabuca Granda wrote Fina Estampa for, I believe it was her father. I also think about my
Okay.
father when I think that, when I sing that song. Uh, it's a good mixture of my mom singing it because I really wanted to bring tribute to the way she sang it, which is very similar to what I did. Um, but also thinking about my father. And the imagery is really, really beautiful, the way is said in the song.
Yeah, well, it's lovely. And it's a great contribution to the album. All these songs, very different styles, well balanced, extremely well recorded, I would say, and incredibly arranged. Wonderful album. The title, Reencuentros, I'm doing my best, right, with
You're
Spanish,
doing great.
which it translates as reunions, right? We've talked about
Reunion or re-encounter,
a
if that word is
reencounter.
proper. Yeah.
Yeah, it's from reference recordings available now. We'll link to your website, Cecilia Duarte mezzosoprano.com. They can find all of your social media there as well. And I'll also link to the reference recordings page because they have some information about the album as well. So, yeah.
Yes. The album can be found basically anywhere. Is up for you can buy a physical copy or you can stream it or download it on all the digital platforms. And it was produced by Blanton Alspaugh, who is a multiple time Grammy Award winner as producer of the year. So I'm very, very glad to have him on board too.
Yeah, well, it definitely shows in the final product.
Yes.
Cecilia Duarte, thank you for spending some time with us on your day off before you sing again tomorrow with the Houston Grand Opera. Thank you so much for the music, and thank you for telling us about it here on FM 91.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for opening this space for me to share with you. Thank you.